gonna give you what you asking for. Naturally yours, but educate the most. Hottest in the game, here to put you on. Come learn this business, welcome to Twinness. Alternative gonna give you what you asking for. Naturally yours, but educate the most. Hottest in the game, here to put you on. Come learn this business, welcome to Twinness. But glad you're tuning in on the latest tip. Alternative salon, keep your head lit. And naturally yours, got your custom fit. Teacher Vince and Nikki, keep your wig drip. TNT, double up the impact, call it Twinness. Hottest hairstylist in the business. Keeping topics fresh for your listening. Black owned woman independent. Like fishes hold it down on your imaging. Whether professional or apprenticeship. Showing culture love just to get you right. Black is beautiful, always shining bright. Alternative gonna give you what you asking for. Naturally yours, but educate the most. Hottest in the game, here to put you on. Come learn this business, welcome to Twinness. Alternative gonna give you what you asking for. Naturally yours, but educate the most. Hottest in the game, here to put you on. Come learn this business, welcome to Twinness.
Hello. Tisha McDonald here, Alternatives Beauty Studio.
I am Tanika Gillar. I am naturally yours.
Look at the sun rays just coming across my shoulders. I had the desk opposite so the sun could hit my face, but then it was just too much. So anyway, how are you today?
I'm good. Showing off. We don't have all that beautiful sun that you have.
It's just coming through, Nikki. It's just coming through. Maybe I should close the curtain a little?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
You're fine.
So how are you? What's going on?
Nothing much. You know, Tuesday is Rain's birthday.
Yes.
She'll be 14. So that shout out to rainbows.
Shout out to rainbows on Tuesday. And tomorrow is my big deal. I go before the Board of Cosmetology.
Yay.
I'm excited. I can't wait. Not nervous at all, Nikki. Not nervous at all.
Not nervous.
No.
Okay.
No. So let's get into it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for joining Twinness. Whether you're catching us live or on the replay, share with your friends. Shout it out. Tonight we're talking about making $100,000. People make it seem as though it's hard to make $100,000 a year, and it's really quite simple. And you know, once we break it down, it's going to be like, oh, that's it. Depending on what you do for a living, actually. But then I don't want people coming to, you know, I don't know. I was going to say something, but I'll keep that.
Uh-oh.
You know, because, you know, sometimes if you say, oh, you make X, then they're going to be like, oh, you know, right. So I'll just keep that quiet. So let's get into it, Nikki.
Okay.
So I taught my class this week. They love when I do business talk with them. Oh, we have a comment. Oh, hey. Hey, Michelle. She said, happy birthday, Ray.
Oh, thank you.
They love when I do business with them. And this week, I was asked to come in on a Wednesday, which I don't work on Wednesdays, but I'm off from the salon on Wednesday. So I told my director, yeah, I'll come. No problem. So I went in. Let me just take off this Twinness banner because it's kind of out there. So, you know, I let the teacher that was there finish doing her lesson, her theory. And then they started asking me questions like, well, you introduce yourself as Miss T, but what do you do? And da-da-da-da. Because, of course, this is their first time meeting me. They want to know what I'm about. Nikki, I didn't even tell them the flip side. But anyway, I'm going to teach that this week.
Okay.
So I went around to each student like I normally do in my class, and I asked them, what is it that you want to specialize in? If anything, you know, because some of them will say I want to do everything. Some will say I just want to do braids and locks. Some I just want to do makeup, whatever. So I went around and I introduced myself to each individual and asked, what do you want to specialize in, if anything? And so we started talking about that. And Tanika, they love me because I keep it so real. I told them, look, I had my first business. It flopped. It failed. It was, you know, because you can't think that you're going to get into business and it's going to just automatically be successful.
Yes.
I had to explain. I had no clue as to how to run a business at all. She just threw it in my lap and I had to take it from there. And I had no business sense, so I didn't know,
Right.
and you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it, So, so they just like that realness about me. And I'm so off topic, but I got so many compliments that day, so many thank yous, so many shout outs. Even they would text on my phone after I left because I broke it down like this. There's this one that was very bold and wasn't shy at all. She said, I want to be an eyelash tech. And when I was in New York City, I was doing eyelashes. I think she said for $180 per service. I said, okay, that's good. So I said, but you're coming out of school now. What do you think that you'll be able to charge coming out? No clientele, et cetera, et cetera. So mainly this is for like your creatives, this is the math we're breaking down for like your creatives. If you have a business or if you're in a service-based business, that's what I should say.
Either service-based or product.
Or product. Yes. So I said, okay, let's do it. So she said $120. I said, okay, let's keep the numbers even. And then I said, well, how many clients can you do eyelashes on in a day? And then she said, I could do about 4 clients in a day. I said, okay, let's do it. So we did 120 for the eyelashes times 4 clients. I said, okay, that equals $480 for the day, for 5 days. So we did 5 days a week. Then it will be $2,400. So then we times that by 4 weeks because there's 4 weeks in a month. And then that came up to $9,600. $9,600. So then I said, okay, well, there's 12 months in a year. And so it ended up totaling $115,200. So she was like, oh, I'm going to be making good money once I get my license. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yes. I said, but, you got to also consider, are you working for yourself? Then that will go in your pocket. But don't forget, you have to replenish your supply. So you have to purchase your eyelashes, your glue, your marketing, etc. So it was good that it came over the 100,000, so that extra 15,000 could go toward back into the business. She could recycle it back into her business. So she loved the way I broke that down. It was simple, it was easy, and so we did another sample of it. Go ahead, Nikki.
Well, I do just a simpler way. Just take that 100,000. Of course, I do mine by the 10s, the 20s, the hundreds. So if you divide $100,000 by $10, say my bows are $10 per bow for rainbows, then I know how much I'm going to have to sell that month, which is going to be too many. I'm going to have to sell 1,000 bows to equal $250,000, that month. And so that would be a lot of product that you would have to sell. So you might want to bundle
it in math.
Yes. 2,500 times 10,000 is going to give you 100,000 for the year.
Okay. That's not what you said, but go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay.
That didn't seem simpler to me, but go ahead.
Your way seems simpler.
Yes.
But when you do the math and you divide it out, the $100,000 by the amount of your product, like $10 or $20 or $100, so you do a head, that's $100. How many $100 heads per year do you need to do? That's too complicated.
Yeah, mine is so easy.
Yours is easier. Okay, well, you do it your way. Do it your way.
I get it.
Yeah, if you divide it out and then you break it down to how many is that going to be per month, and then I break it down how many heads do I have to do per week, so that it's in a smaller chunk for me. So I break it.
Same thing I just did. Okay. Per month, per week. It's just in reverse.
Yes.
Well, we also went into, some of your services are going to be more expensive than. So I'm talking about the service based, you're talking about product based. So let's say you were saying $100, but we're going to take it higher than that. Let's say you're doing a box braid or you're doing something else, it's going to be more than the $120 that she was saying. And then we even took it lower. We took it down to the $50 because if you're just coming out and you're just doing like wash blow flat irons, and the boss is saying that's all you could do right now until you build up your clientele, until they can trust you, until that, you know what I'm saying? So we took it the lower end and then we took it higher as well. So by the time they left, they had 3 samples of how they're going to make this $100,000 for the year coming out of school.
And I'm talking about products. So even with my product line, or even say in a shop where you selling your shampoos, conditioners, facial stuff. Mine is on the lower end. So I'm looking at $10, $20, but then you do your upsell or bundling of your products to try to make that into an easier sale, like $100 instead of just $10. You know, when people buy the bows, they usually buy 3 or 4 bows. Sometimes they'll even add in something else like a blanket or a barefoot sandal. And so you try to upsell it, kind of like McDonald's does. Would you like a large fry with that? Or would you like whatever special that they have? We have a 2 for whatever going on, just to try to coax you into something. So yeah, people like this lipstick matte, but then they like the gloss to go over it or whatever. I don't know. So that's how you figure it out. And then when you make the money, how are you going to reinvest that money? Because you made it, but then you're going to have to put some of that back. So did you really make the 100,000? Yeah, you made the 100,000, but then you had to put a portion back into the business. So you might want to make a little bit more than 100,000 so that you can see the whole 100,000 by the end of the year.
And that's why that one first example that I gave was good for her, because she made 115,000. And I said, okay, that 15,000, that'll go back to your continuing education. Even that'll go to your website. That'll go to just different things you're going to reinvest back into your business. Of course, we teach upselling, because you're not going to just do the lashes. Aren't you going to do the brows? Aren't you going to do? So yes, we want to upsell. And I'm telling them that they can control their money in several ways. Are you going to work 5 days a week, 6 days a week, or are you just going to be part-time and work 3 days a week? I mean, for me, I work 3 days a week, but it is what it is. And how high, or what are your prices going to be? So that's the way we took it. Like, if you're going to be part-time, then you're going to get part-time pay. If you're going to go in hard and go full-time, but sometimes it's better to work smarter, not harder. Just raise your prices so you don't have to work as hard. But I know these girls coming out of school, they want to try and get it all in as much as they can. And plus they need I don't want to say practice when you're doing a client, but they need to try and get the experience that they can. So they're going to just be hammering it out as much as they can. So 5 days a week, minimum, we said 4 clients, but they could take 6 clients maybe. And that's the way they're going to control their money, and they're going to track their money to see. And so they love this formula, and it was very easy to break down. And
So even though you're tracking your money and what you have coming in, don't forget, again, I'm just reiterating, don't forget your taxes and whatever else you have to do. Like, say you have an assistant, you still have to pay her. So that's an expense coming out of your 100,000. So that's why, just shoot for a little bit more, just a little bit more. And what I try to do is every year, try to increase the goal. So if it was 100,000 this year, next year, I'm going to want to do maybe 115, like you said, or 120,000. And then I break that down to 15,000 a week. 1,500 a week. So I increase my weekly, what I want every year. So
it's really not that the same as well as, like, every year prices go up on things. So I told my students, every year your prices need to go up. Now, I won't raise my prices next year. So don't get nervous, Michelle. Don't get nervous. I won't raise it because I feel like my prices are at a premium right now. So I won't raise them right now. But I was letting them know, the more education you get, the more you can charge. And gas goes up every year. Your things just go up every year. So don't be scared to raise your prices every year, because that's just the way of life. And so that will also offset some of the, now let's not be ridiculous with the price raising. And I've also said, let your clients know in advance that you're going to raise your price. Maybe give them 2 months notice. As of January, my price is going to go from to, and that way they know.
I had a client to tell me that I needed to raise my prices, and I did that. As soon as she said it, she was like, you could raise your price at least $25 to $50, and this is for interlocking. And so I did that.
Sure.
And I've never had a client to complain about the price, even though it went up. And one of the barbers that I work with, LP, was talking about raising his barbering prices. He's already at $30 for a haircut, but he's trying to be premium. So he's going to go up even more. He's very well known in the city. And so he was talking to me about that, like $100 per haircut. And I'm like, if that's up to you, like if those are your premium, if you're the creme de la creme and that's what you charge, you might have some to fall off, but you're still going to maintain those ones that are with you, because it shouldn't always be a money price game. Because here in Alabama, I don't know, Tisha, I don't do the chemical side, but you still got $40 perms. I don't know if that's really what the rate is. So it's like, yeah, you still going to this person for the $40. And I don't know. I don't talk about nobody's work, but you basing it on the price instead of on the quality.
The quality. And you cannot be scared to raise your prices. You may lose a couple clients, but then you're going to gain some clients, because they're going to be like, oh, her prices are higher. She must be better, or she must be good at what she does. Or you'll raise your prices and it'll offset the ones that you just lost, and everybody is not your client. And you have to realize that everybody's not your client. So I don't want everybody in my salon. And so, Tanika, when I was teaching that class on Wednesday, it was so much fun because they just looked at me. And so I had on my black, of course, and I had on my makeup, and I was ready. So they were like, you look like money. You look like you would be expensive. You look like, and I said, so you see the way I'm carrying myself, even if it doesn't even matter, but I look like the part. And that's what was important for them. It's like, Tanika, then they got a little ridiculous, but it's okay. So,
and some of the ones that fall off, you probably didn't want anyway. Some of the ones that fall off, you probably didn't want really anyway. Like it was time for them to go. And so you kind of nudged them out. But hey, Shatika, how are you? Good to see you. So you can't just base it off of price. You got to base it on quality. Now, another name, T, and I'm not going to say the name, but he's premium with his prices. He's the one who said that I am the premier braiding salon in Birmingham. And so, but when you go to him, you're going to pay a pretty penny, but then you're paying for the experience as well as the service. So, you have to look at all of that when you are setting your goal for the year. And, Tisha and I always, hey, y'all go to Amazon, pick up our books. Y'all go to Barnes & Noble, get some books from Tisha and Tanika, the Twinness, on different types of things. But my point is, at the end of the year, we always go through our goals for the next year. So make sure that you put that new financial goal in for the next year. And when you're doing your financial goals, don't forget to put in that family vacation you want to do, that girls trip you want to do, or whatever, because that's a financial goal. So budget that in.
Specific, not I want more money.
Right. And factor that in, like how much that's going to cost, how much do I need to make or save to make that money. That could be your extra on the side money, instead of going into that 100,000 that you're trying to get, and you never know. Count up where all your money is coming from. So y'all know I work part-time nursing. I do hair part-time. And so, I need to count all my money. I do the rainbows. So I need to count up where all of the resources are coming from, not just the one. Find out where all your resources are coming from. Tisha teaches, she might do seminars at her shop. hair tutorials at the shop or whatever. So those are different sources of income. That's the point. Different sources of income besides the hair. So make sure that you factor that in as well to your $100,000 goal.
Well, let me pause there because the $100,000 goal, that's just on your one job. Now you're talking about several streams of income, and this is where it starts to get
muddy.
to the nitty gritty. This is where it starts to get good and juicy. Because if I'm just basing my 100,000 on the salon, and like you said, now let's factor in. Oh, I got something else I'll tell you off camera. But
Okay.
if you factor in selling your products, that is that's additional. If you factor in seminars and classes, that's another. And I'm actually having a class next on May 6th just for my students, but I'm doing that for free for them since I'm leaving. It's my last month with them, and they felt like they needed an additional classes for braiding. So I said, how much is it going to be? I said, it's free for y'all. It's free for y'all. Because they know I'm always saying, it doesn't even matter. But yeah, so those are your different streams of income. And so you want to, because I even said to them, I said, let's say you work at a salon and you make X amount of dollars, but let's break down, if you make that $100,000 at a salon, Tanika, half of that is already gone because that's commission. The boss is going to take half of that. So then they would need to actually make much more, and then, but the other factors are you selling the retail? Are you upselling? You have to be able to get different streams of income coming in there. Because then you wouldn't be making that 100,000 if you're working in a salon and have to give over half.
Right. So, and that's why you need to figure out where all of your sources are coming from, But too, like you were saying, that you're giving a class away for free. You're only going to get what you give. So don't forget to give as well. Yes, you want the money, but what are you giving in return? Not just the service. Sometimes I'll give.
That's old school, Shatika.
Oh, yes, you can money. But even when I'm doing events or something, I might just give some bows away, or just give advice away like we do every week here on Twinness. Just give because you're going to receive as well. So don't be stingy with your knowledge. But I'm not just saying just give everything away. Be prudent. But in order to receive, you have to give too. I got to sneeze, but it won't come out.
Okay. So guys, you are watching Twinness with Tisha and Tanika, and we're just talking about, people always make it seem as though it's hard to make your first 100,000, but it's not hard to make that first 100,000. And then when you make that first 100,000, go for that 200,000. Go keep just going up from there, because it's really not that hard. It's not as hard as what some people make it sound like.
You know what we do, Tisha, and you've heard this all the time, because the hair industry is a cash money industry, you don't see where your money went. So that's going to be important as well, because you would have made that 100,000 or more. And at the end of the year, say, I don't know where my money went. So you need to not only track it, but be careful, because if you make $100 cash and then you go out, like I often do, and buy dinner, then the 100 that I just made comes down to 60, because I just spent 40 on dinner. So track.
That's true. Eating out all the time, just purchasing things just to purchase. But Tanika, I'm going to give you the flip side of that. And I'm putting this out there, and I know I'm not going to be able to take it back. And I know once it's in the universe, is out there. But some people have heard this before. And this is what I'm going to teach this week on the financial side in my class. So when we first moved out here, Tanika, you know this, and some of my clients know it too now. This was like the worst move ever. And in that first year of us moving out here, I lost $80,000. $80,000 that I cannot recoup. And so it's easy to say, oh, you lost 80,000. When I say I lost 80,000, then it's like, but I made more than that to be able to say that I lost that. And so if you're not tracking your money, you won't even know where you lost it. I know how I lost it. I know when I lost it, and $80,000 gone just like that. Ask me how.
How'd you lose it, T? How'd you lose $80,000? That's a lot of money. That's somebody's. That's two people's salary. Some people only make 40,000 a year. You lost 80,000 in a year. Oh.
Yes, that's what my husband said. He was like, how? All right, so let's get into it, Miss Baker. I might have to take a paper and a pen to myself. So we moved from Pennsylvania to Delaware. And in that move, and I'm breaking it down to simple terms, so it's going to end up being like in a 76,000 roundabout, but we're not including certain things. So we moved from Pennsylvania to Delaware, and that's a 2.5-hour drive. And since we were new to Delaware, I said, you know what? I'm not going to work Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I'm going to give up my Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I'm only going to work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, my busy days. Let's break this down to easy math. So let's say Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I do locks at $110 per lock. And let's just keep it even. Let's say I do 5 locks on a Tuesday and 5 locks on a Wednesday. That's $1,000. If you say $1,000 times 4 weeks, that's $4,000 in 4 weeks. $4,000 times 12 months. Now, see, that's when you have to do the math. And I don't have my, 48. That's 48,000 just there alone. We're not talking about, I spend the night at a hotel, that's $200 a week times 4 weeks in a month. That's $800. That's times 12 months, times 4 weeks, times 12 months. How much is that?
I don't know. I wasn't doing math.
Okay. So you add that together. Then you're not talking about I pay gas and toll. We didn't even include the gas when we were doing the figures. We just added the tolls of me traveling back and forth. We didn't even include the fact that I had to eat while I'm out there spending the night, right? So it all ended up adding up to like 76,000 something. But again, we didn't include gas, and I drive a premium car, which needs premium gas. So, and then we're not even talking about the maintenance of my car. So when you add all of that stuff up, that was just me personally losing. We're not talking about the fact that I do extensions on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We're not talking about upsells. We just kept it basic at 5 locks per day, $550. That's $1,100. But I rounded it for you guys to $1,000, that I was losing for those 2 days off. My accountant said, Tisha, you're going to have to stop the bleeding. You're going to have to stop the bleeding. And so once we came up with that, it was like you lost that 80,000, but you were making more than the 80,000. But now you have to stop the bleeding because you cannot go into the next year losing 80 and the next year losing 80. And then, you know what I'm saying? Because then it starts to snowball. We can't even factor in the days that I took off because my son maybe had football practice on a Friday. So now I have to leave work early because I have to get to his football game because he's a senior, So we didn't even factor those in. And every Friday was Friday night lights, And so I had to be there for that. Not every Friday, but, very often I have to take off on Fridays. So when you think about that, and I wasn't trying to make up the time by working on a Sunday because that's a non-negotiable for me. Mm-hmm. So, and that's how that happened. Ms. Baker, any questions? Did you do the math while I was telling it?
So, and Baker, I think I did send you an inbox message, so I need you to give me a response. I did that a couple of weeks ago. Just give me a response for that. But yeah, that's a lot of money.
No, I don't feel like I was working just to maintain the bare minimum because it still wasn't bare minimum for me. Because remember, those other 3 days, I was still working and I was still doing my extensions and my locks and my color and my, I still have my add-on services. And what I would do is Friday, I would work sun up to sundown. That's why I spend the night on Fridays. One, I'm not going to travel back home Friday to go back Saturday morning at 7 a.m. So I'll stay there late in the night and work and then just go around the corner to the hotel and just get back up and start back again 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday and work that from let's say 7 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. And then I travel back home to Delaware. But I knew that somebody needed to be home with my children because we're in a new environment. We don't know anybody. And so it was a sacrifice I was willing to make. But then when I saw how much I was losing, I was just like, this cannot happen. And then once my accountant said, you got to stop the bleeding unless you're going to start going into your personal finances, then I had to say,
Mm-hmm. And I think that, okay, I saw the message. I think I did see a blurb, but I looked real quick and I moved on and I didn't respond. So just inbox me again, please. But I think when you get to Tisha's level of income, it's like she didn't miss it at the time. It wasn't until she realized, she just thought, I'm just going to take these 2 days off. It's my slower days. So she didn't think it was going to affect her as much as it did. She didn't even think, it wasn't even a thought to just take those 2 days off from work. So because she knew that she was going to make up the money in the end, well, she was still bringing in a bulk of money on the 3 days she did work. Like, that's all I work is 3 days. So I'll make my money on my 3 days. But Tisha usually works 5 days. So when you cut in your hours like that or cutting your days, it does affect you. But she didn't realize it at the time, how much it was affecting her.
And would that be considered bad planning on my part? I would say yes, that would be considered bad planning on my part, but it was a necessary step. Sometimes money is not everything. I needed to be here, like I said, for my children. But I think if I had known better, I would have probably said, well, can't we put this move on hold maybe 2 years? Why? Because my daughter is about to graduate next year from high school and go to college, and she is thinking about going to college in PA, which now we're going to have to pay out-of-state tuition because now we're in Delaware. So that wasn't a good planned move on our part, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but that's hindsight,
That's hindsight.
And I don't think that it was necessarily a bad move on your part, like you said, because it had to do with your family. So sometimes you have to make the sacrifice, even though it's a financial loss. Sometimes you have to weigh it on what's important. You know what I mean?
So the point of this is just like you can figure out how you're going to make that 100,000, you got to figure out how you lost the money. Where's the bleeding? Where can you stop it? And so I started teaching in the evening, which I don't mind. It doesn't pay me nothing. Let me tell you the truth. I need to just add that time that I'm going to work on Tuesdays and Thursdays to my hours at the salon, to be honest. But I enjoy teaching. It doesn't pay nothing, but I enjoy teaching. And so now with this, I'm opening my own school. So, the teaching is not paying anything, but I'm getting more experience. I'm getting to know the students, what they like, what works for them, what works for me. And I wouldn't know that had I not taken on this position to teach, because you got to start somewhere. In order to be a leader, you have to be able to follow. And so I'm watching what my directors are doing and the such, and I know what I want to do and what I'm not going to do in my school. So even though it's a low pay, I'm getting experience and I'm really learning a lot from my students.
I'm going to say this as well. Okay, we was talking about stopping the bleeding. So we were saying eating out could be costly. Y'all can see my little face. But because, when you spend your money and it's just going like nothing, but then you were saying, your job. And I can say the same for myself. My job. Now, my medical director came and got her hair done this week. So she's my boss. And I'm not going to tell you what she paid me because of what I charge. I make more money doing hair. So I want y'all to understand that the hair industry is a lucrative business. It's a lucrative business. And so when people think you're in nursing or whatever, they think you're making all this money. I make more money doing hair than I do nursing. And even my medical director knows that. So the 3 days that I work doing hair, the 1 day, maybe the 2 days, I can cover my paycheck on those 3 days. that takes me 2 weeks in nursing. So understand that it's what you do, how you flow, how you price, the client base that you have, the quality of clients that you have. If you're going for the bottom of the barrel, that's going to pay you $25 for box braids down to their ankles. You're not setting a good boundary. You're not setting yourself up for respect. That's what I'm going to say. Because if they could pay you $25 for these long box braids down to the floor, you putting in all those hours and not getting paid your worth. And I'm going to leave it there. So remember that you are in a business and that you need to price accordingly. Track your spending, know where it's going. Is it a necessity? Is it just for fun? And you can have your fun, but make sure that you're tracking.
Okay. Do you see the question? Because
I see the question.
All right. So wait, I'll just put it back up. So how do you know how or when to pay yourself? First of all, you should be paying yourself every week. You should be paying yourself consistently. I've never stopped paying myself just because I was losing money. I've always paid myself, but depending on how you're set up, and you should be set up, if you have a business, you have to have a business account and then your personal account. I pay myself via direct deposit every week, because if you don't pay yourself, you're setting yourself up to be audited by the IRS. They want to see that you're paying yourself consistently, not today this week I'm paying myself, next week I'm not paying myself, because it's inconsistent. You'll send up a red flag and it causes you to be audited. So pay yourself every week. You can pay yourself salary. That's what I do. I pay myself the same thing every week. So, but they want to see that it's consistent. Unless you're going to say I'm paying myself hourly, but I'm not paying myself hourly. I'm paying myself a salary.
And don't forget to take your money out for taxes. I don't have that issue here. I don't do quarterly taxes. I think Tisha does, but I pay taxes once a year.
However, my accountant has me set up. I don't pay quarterly. I pay it yearly as well.
Okay.
It's supposed to be quarterly, but somehow he got it where it's just yearly.
My accountant too has me. And so that's another issue. You keep hearing us talk about accountants. We both have an accountant because you're going to need one, especially if you have a business. And I know some people have bookkeepers as well. That just a whole different thing right there, but at least have an accountant to help you at the end of the year with your taxes or quarterly, however you set up with your account, and make sure you have someone that you can trust.
But also, Ms. Baker, I have I use ADP. I use a payroll service to do my because I don't want to get stuck out there. I'm not good with numbers, taxes, bookkeeping. I'm not good with any of that. So I do pay ADP to do it.
And I do have a young lady that's going to come and set up because of my products for my daughter's line. She's going to come and help me set up. She is an accountant, but she's going to help me set up spreadsheets, which I don't know nothing about, so that I can track my products as I go, and it'll track all of the sales and what's in my inventory and all of that. It's going to be a complicated system. She's going to make it very simple for me. So
and that's the thing that I'm going to have to deal with when I open the school, tracking the inventory and stuff like that. So that's something else that I'm going to end up learning because that's out of my wheelhouse. And when you don't know, you just don't know.
Yes. And you pay someone. Sometimes you have to pay someone for the knowledge because you're not good at everything. I'm not good at everything. You're not good at everything as a person. So sometimes you have to bite the bullet and pay the person, because in the long run, it's going to save you time, frustration, headache. Is going to save you in the long run. So sometimes it's best to just hire someone to handle it professionally than for you to be it's good for you to know the basics, but that's pretty much all I'm going to get is the basics. I want you to do what you're supposed to be doing if I'm paying you,
Exactly. So you guys are watching Twinness. We want to say thank you for joining us. And we hope that we have been of service to you guys, because sometimes people make it seem like it's so hard to make your first 100,000. And, money flows through your hands so often. You're not even keeping track. And I've heard or read somewhere that you get over $1 million in your lifetime, but you don't know what you've done with that $1 million
At the
in
end,
your
Dave
lifetime.
Ramsey, I was just listening to
Oh,
him.
what's Dave Ramsey? Okay.
Mhm. You make over $4 to $6 million in your lifetime because of the years that you work,
Mm,
and then you
mm,
just don't know where it is at the end of your life,
mhm, mhm. Yep. So these are things that, we call them situational scenarios in school. And so they love every week I come in there, maybe every other day I come in there with a situational scenario. And tomorrow I have 3 situational scenarios, not tomorrow, but Tuesday, 3 situational scenarios for my class that just happened this weekend. And they love those because it gives them the real world experience. It gives them real time right now, what's happening and how would you handle it? I always ask them, well, how would you handle this? And so how to make this 100,000 in a year, that's a real world scenario. When I told them that my first business failed at 25 years oldish, that was a real world scenario. When I'm telling you that I lost $80,000 in that 1 year by this move, but I make over that 80,000, that's a real world scenario. And when you don't count the cost before doing something, it can get you in trouble. I'm just happy that I am married and he can catch me when I fall, even though I haven't needed him to catch me when I fell. It was just something that I had to see, and I'm glad that I have a good accountant who said you need to figure out where this money was coming from, because I knew those 2 days was off. And once he told me to call Easy Pass and get the bills, he told me to get it for the year. And Easy Pass, they sent it to me because I don't do anything online, but they sent it to me. And once we did that math, it was just, and once we did the hotels and, I don't even save my eating out receipts. I'm like, but I start putting them all on one credit card. So that way, whether it's my business debit card or if it's a business credit card, once I hand that to him, it's just 2 simple statements that he has to look at and he can track everywhere my money is being spent. So I don't necessarily now have to have these receipts unless I'm paying cash, then I have to hold on to the receipt.
Say this one last thing,
Mhm.
reinforce it,
Mhm.
that cosmetology, hair braiding, natural hair, whatever, it's a real business, you guys. You can make some real money. You can live the life that you want with this income. So don't let anyone diminish it for you. Don't lower your standards. You set the goal, you set the standard, you do what you need to do, how you need to do. If you need to increase your prices, don't be afraid to do that. Whatever it is, if you need to work more hours, just a few during the week to meet your goal, make sure that you do that. But understand that this is a profession and you carry yourself as a business. I don't dress like Tisha. Tisha's always to the nines. So people would look at me and say, I'm not professional like Tisha. Well, I just told you, you look like money. I look like a rag doll. And so, but I have my own sense of style. But, make sure that you are handling it like a business and like you are the professional and like you are the leader in your
You are your
industry.
brand.
You are your brand. And so make your 100,000, make your 200,000, do what you got to do. I'm with it. Y'all have
Keep
a
doing
good
it until you
day.
become that millionaire. We
Uh-oh,
will see you guys next week. Sorry. No, we won't see you next week. Next week, I will be at the New York Makeup Show. I am taking a few of my students with me. It's going to be a great time. So again, we're doing that continuing education. And guess what, guys? It's a business expense. I'm taking them. We're riding the bus together, and of course, I'm not giving them a freebie. They have to pay for their own ticket, but I'm going to pay for their bus ticket to get there. And so we will be at the New York Makeup Show next week. So we won't see you next week. We'll be back the week after.
I guess that would be the first week in May, I think.
Yes, it will be.
Yeah. So we'll have a whole bunch of new topics for the month of May, and we'll keep you posted on what the topic will be.
Good night, guys.